Hello Booktube, it's Gemena, and today I've got my February Shelf Slam 2017 wrap up. Now, I've not been posting videos for the last couple of weeks because I've been absolutely floored by a chest infection, which is otherwise known in our house as the black lung. It's absolutely wiped me out, couldn't talk, couldn't do anything, so that's why I've not posted. So I'm just going to do my February wrap up to catch up with where I'm up to. I actually managed to read 13 books in February. Some of those were part of the Let's Get Graphic readathon, but February's topic for Shelf Slam was books over 400 pages, which I have a mortal fear of any long book, but I'm really pleased with the amount that I managed to read, and particularly as February was the shortest month. So I'm going to start with my least favourite and work my way up to my favourite, and there's actually quite a few 5-star reads this month, so I was really thrilled. So my least favourite was The Graces by Law Eve, and this is a YA book, and oh my god, it was just one cliche from beginning to end. Set in high school. I think it's actually set in the UK. I only read this a week or so ago, but it's already quite forgettable. There's some 3 students whose surname are Graces, and they're believed to be witches. The new kid comes and the witches are all really popular, and so she decides she wants to be their friend and she wants to be in with the popular set, and it's just so bloody lame. And I just despised everybody, and I ended up just giving it 1 star, and I only finished it because I'd got so far with it that I thought I'm just going to go to the end, but didn't like it. Wasn't good. The next one is Sex Criminals Volume 1 by Matt Fraction, and I read this as part of Let's Get Graphic, and I know this has been out for quite a while, so I thought I'd give it a go and see what the fuss was about, and to be honest, the fuss was beyond me. I just found it completely ridiculous. These 2 people who apparently, when they orgasm during sex, they can freeze time. So they've met and they've found that they've both got this gift, so they decide that in the time that they can freeze, and the time is frozen only until they decide they want to have sex again, and then their time comes back, that they want to rob banks to get money to save the library that she works off, and it's just like, for God's sake, pathetic. So I won't be carrying on with that one. I just thought it was ridiculous. The next one is The Invention of Hugo Cabret by Brian Selznick, and this is sort of part graphic and part text. So you get some pages like that, and then you get some pages with absolutely beautiful sort of line drawings. It was okay. I had higher expectations of this. I think the film Hugo comes from this book, but I've not actually seen that. Basically, this boy, he was apprenticed to his uncle, who looked after all the clocks in the station, and his uncle was a bit of an alcoholic, and he just disappears. But they actually live in a little garret in the station, so he continues with the uncle's work, and then he survives by living off his wits, basically, and stealing the odd thing from all the places in the station, the food places. But he also likes the mechanical side of things, and his father, I think, left this automaton that he recovers, and he wants to put it back together, and so he's pinching little bits from this toy maker's stall, and he gets caught, and it's just, yeah, and it was okay. It was a 3-star read. I didn't love it, but it was alright. The next one I've got is Wolf Winter by Cecilia Ekbak. This is set in Swedish Lapland, and again, I'm already sort of starting to forget this. It was a 3-star read. There are homesteaders who live in this little remote town, and basically they're all settlers, and they have the indigenous Lap people who live around the peripheries, and there's a murder in the town, and they try and uncover who's done it, and there's some supernatural elements to it, and the brother of the man that's found dead doesn't really care that he's dead, and it's just sort of unravelling the mystery behind who killed him, why he was killed, and it was okay. it was an alright read. The next one I've got to show you is The Beauty Volume 2 by Jeremy Horn, and this didn't live up to my expectations. I absolutely loved Volume 1, which is all about a sexually transmitted infection, and if you catch it, it makes you beautiful. The only downside is that at some point in the near future you spontaneously combust. And so the first volume was sort of more about the disease and a task force that's trying to look into it because there's some conspiracy going on with pharmaceutical companies. Are they actually able to cure this? But they don't want to cure it because they want people to keep contracting it and needing the medication to look after them. So I was wanting more of the same, but this volume completely just doesn't engage with that story at all. In fact, the beauty itself is hardly mentioned. It's more about a gangster, and he contracts the beauty so that he can change his appearance so that they can't be caught. So I was a bit let down really, because I wanted more of the story in Volume 1 because I wanted to know where it goes. So again, that was just a 3-star for me. The next one is Descender Volume 3. 3 stars. It's obviously a continuation of the story of Tim 21, who is a robot in a time where robots have sort of turned against humanity, so they're outlawed and hunted down, and Tim 21's a bit different. And a lot of this volume was sort of filling in a lot of the backstories of a lot of the characters, so it was obviously an in-betweeny kind of volume. So I did enjoy having all the backstory for everybody, but it didn't necessarily move the story along. So it was a 3-star for me, but it has probably set up for the next volume quite nicely. Next we've got I Hate Fairyland Volume 2 by Scotty Young. The adventures of poor Gert, who's still trapped in Fairyland, who can't get out of Fairyland despite being there trapped in her 3-year-old body for over 30 years. Other people seem to manage to get out quite fine, but she's just not terribly bright, and it's irreverent, and it's toilet humour, and there's lots of gore and snot and everything, but it's just fun, and yeah, lived up to expectations, so I really enjoyed that one. The next one is Witches Volume 1, and this again does what it says on the tin. As you can see from the cover, basically it's got the scary woods, the legend of the witches live in the trees, and they're coming to get you. And so I enjoyed that one. Looking forward to how the series progresses. Next I've got Giant Days Volume 1, and I absolutely love this. This is set in the UK, which I think is quite unusual for graphic novels. Mostly the ones I've read are in the US or space. And it's 3 girls who go to university for the first time and start to form friendships, first time away from home. And I found the characters quite believable, and I enjoyed it. I think there's about 4 volumes of this out now, so really liked it, and it's something a bit different, so I'm going to be carrying on with that one. Next, I'm back to my books over 400 pages, and this was an audio book, and this is The Fair Fight by Anna Freeman. And I wasn't sure about this when I first started listening to it. I wasn't sure where it was going, because I thought the storyline wasn't going to be for me, because the first bit of it is about it's set in a Victorian brothel, and it follows the stories of Ruth and Dora. Dora is basically indoctrinated into her mother's business and becomes a prostitute. Dora is deemed not to be pretty enough, but she can fight. So apparently there was quite an interesting female boxers in the 19th century, and Ruth is good at that, so she becomes a boxer. So I thought, oh, is it all going to be boxing? But it's not actually, because it's told from different narrative perspectives. So then you start to follow the story from the upper classes, and in particular the protagonists who have links with Ruth, who are her sponsors, who visit the brothel where she lives, and it's all the intertwining of their stories, and in particular the wife of the sponsor of Ruth, her story. So I absolutely loved that as it started to weave. So the further it went, I really enjoyed this, so it was definitely a 4-star read. Loved the narration of it. It was really, really well done, and something that I didn't know anything about, but it also sort of highlighted again the difficult plight of women from all classes in that century, where Ruth she was either going to be a prostitute or find her way in another way, and it turned out that she was a female fighter, But then when she was unable to fight, she then was dependent on her husband, and then Charlotte, who's the wife of the Toff, who sponsors the boxing, and she's sort of beholden to her brother for most of her life, and then her husband. And so although she's a woman of means, she's again completely trapped by her circumstance. So it sort of does show that it doesn't really matter from what social class you came from. Women were equal in the lack of choice and lack of independence. So I really enjoyed that one. The next one, a book which I gave 5 stars to, is My Lady Jane, a not entirely true story, and this is written by 3 authors, Cynthia Hand, Brodie Ashton and Jodie Meadows. And this follows the story of Lady Jane Grey, who was actually queen for 9 days in Britain, and although in true life she gets her head chopped off. So it does follow that story. It's funny, it's got magical realism where they sort of look at the religious conflict but in a completely different way, where the Verities would be the Catholics and the Ethians would be the Protestants. And so without sort of going along that big taboo subject of religion, they do it in a different way. Basically the Ethians are shapeshifters, they become an animal, and so Jane's married off to a young man whose father wants to sort of control the throne through his son, and he's a horse. I absolutely loved it. It's so much fun. It's just an absolute riot. It was a refreshing change. Really recommend it, and it was just so well done, and I loved all the characters in it as well. The next one is the first volume of Bloodstain by Linda Sedgwick, and absolutely loved this. This is the wife of Stepan Sedgwick, who writes the fabulous Sunstone series, and this is all about a young girl who has a degree in chemistry but has really struggled to get a job since she got a degree, and she's living with her sister. Finances are tight, and basically every job that she's ever done she's rubbish at, she gets sacked from. And her sister's kind of nagging her to say, look, come on, you're going to have to pay your way. And so she applies for this job that's been advertised for a long, long time. And it's to be the assistant of the mad scientist professor. And although it's like the cliched story, I did really enjoy it. And the first volume just leaves us up to where she actually goes to the mad scientist mansion where she's going to be living and working. So, and I really enjoyed it, so I really can't wait to see where it goes. So I loved that one. The next one was my one of my book buddy box books that Eleanor sent to me, and this is Golden Boy by Abigail Tartolin. And oh my goodness, this book, I absolutely loved it. It is about an intersex character. Basically they used to be called hermaphrodites because they're born with genitalia that is indeterminate. Sometimes you can't really tell. Sometimes they have both male and female genitalia. There can be so many different variations. Historically, parents were asked to choose at birth which gender they wanted the child to be, and was surgically correct. But modern thinking is now you leave it be and you wait and see what that person identifies more closely with, and then surgery is a choice. So this is all about Max, who is an intersex character. There's an absolutely traumatic event that happens to Max, and it is a catalyst for decisions to be made within the family, secrets that have been sort of, well, not so much secrets that have been kept in the family, but things that haven't been talked about. I absolutely, my heart was in my mouth reading it. I had to read certain sections and then put it down and have a minute and just go away. It was one of them books that was on my mind when I wasn't reading it. I was worried for Max. It just was amazing. I think it was an important book. It was incredibly well done. I was so invested in it, and it was one of the best books I've read this year so far. So that was a fabulous cast iron 5-star read for me. And the final one I've got to show you, which is probably just my favourite one of the month, and that is Gemena, and this is the Illuminae Files Volume 2 by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. I read Illuminae and it took me a while to get into it really. I was about a good third, maybe halfway through before I started to get into the story. But I did enjoy it. But this one, wow, from page 1 I was in there. I absolutely loved it. This, it's not necessarily the same characters as Illuminae, although they do appear in it. It's more the space station that they're trying to get to, so it's the characters on the space station, but it's all to do with the same themes. I can't tell you too much because obviously it'll spoil Illuminae if you've not read it, but I absolutely love this. If you've not seen these books before, they are written in very unusual formats. Some pages you'll get drawings, some pages you'll get sort of transcripts of iMessage conversations. Sometimes you will get text, sometimes you'll get pages like that, and it's just so unique, and I absolutely love this. Apparently there's just one more in the series that comes out later on this year, which I'll be dying to read. But yeah, I absolutely love this. It was brilliant, could not put it down. And considering I've got a mortal fear of big books, this was something like 660 pages long and I flew through it. So that was my February wrap up. I was really thrilled with what I read. Next month, March, which we're in, is books released in 2016, so that's the topic for this month. So I'll show you shortly where I'm up to with that in the next video, and I will see you all soon. Keep reading. Bye!